Hey guys, how you doing? Chris Rod, Sun City Lawn Care. Today we're going to be making a video about starting seeds indoor. Okay, so little disclaimer here, by no means do I know what I'm doing. I'm just kidding. I have pretty good working knowledge of how to do this. But this video is pretty much for anybody that is starting to get into gardening or needs a little bit of advice, maybe a few pointers, or maybe just a different outlook from somebody other than themselves or somebody that they normally watch on YouTube. But here is more or less our seed starting station, if you will, and some of the techniques that I use in my own garden. So we get seeds from different places. We get seeds from MI Gardener. I get them at Home Depot and Lowe's. I get them from Johnny's seed store. It doesn't matter where you get seeds. Just some of the things you want to pay attention to is the variety of seeds you get, what kind of seeds you get, and are they good for your area. So, you got to know a few things. The most important one is, which zone you live in, which climate. Because once you start buying seeds, say there's just different kinds of vegetables that you guys want to grow, that you want to eat, okay, or flowers for that matter. You want to make sure you get the right kind of flowers that will prosper in your area. So when you start buying seeds, key in on some of that information in the description, okay? And then the second thing you want to annotate or take note of, and it's probably hard to see here, and I hope it shows up the right way on the camera, but I write down our last frost date, okay? So there's many resources online in which you can go and research your last frost date for your area, the zone that you live in. Here down in El Paso, Texas, our last frost date is typically around March 25th. So what you do then is, out of all the seeds you buy, you start dating back from your last frost date. So on the back of some of these packets, and they're very detailed and descriptive, but on some of these packets, they tell you start indoors 3 to 4 weeks before your last frost date. So what we do is we take March 25th and we date back 3 to 4 weeks, okay? So for this particular packet, for example, which is the Jubilee watermelon, we could start the seeds right now indoors, which is what we're gonna do today. And you go through all your seed packets and you separate them, okay? So we've got 3 to 4 weeks. This one is the red California poppies, okay? We're gonna be doing some flowers instead of buying those $5, $10, $15 flowers at Home Depot or Lowe's. We're gonna go ahead and grow our own. So this one is after the last frost date, days to germinate, 5 to 15 days, days until maturity, 55 to 60 days, okay? So March 25th, April 25th, May 25th puts us at that 60-day mark where we should get full maturity from these red California poppies. But you separate your stacks here, okay? After last frost date, 6 to 8 weeks before last frost date. So rosemary, different category. After last frost date, 8 to 12 weeks. These are some peppers, okay? These last ones are all peppers, and then I've got some gold nugget tomatoes we're gonna try this year. These are all 8 to 12 weeks, okay? I should have started these already, but I did a late order on some different varieties of peppers. As you can see in the background, I've got some peppers and tomatoes and some marigolds and violas and some lavender and some okra already started, and then we've got our short date onion sets over there that are growing as well. I've already started those, okay? But these are just some different varieties I wanted to try this year. I'm kind of doing a test trial to see two things. One, how late I can actually plant these, and we're also incorporating some succession planting, okay? So I've got those that are gonna go in the ground after the last frost date. I'm starting these a little later, and that way we've got a little bit of succession and prolonged vegetable growth throughout the late spring, early summer time period. So I'm gonna go ahead and plant these today, or start these seeds indoor, I should say. And then what I like to do is I put them in little bags. Okay, once I know, when we're going to start the seeds indoor, for example, 4 to 5 weeks. That puts me at mid-February. Okay, that's everything I started over there. That's in this baggie. And then over here, I've got some seeds from last year that we stored in a dark, cool place, my freezer. 2 to 3 weeks. First week of March is when we're supposed to start these indoors, okay? And I've already went through the description on all of these, and I know that I'm supposed to start these this particular week. Some lettuce, some cucumbers, some summertime squash. What's this other one? Some mustard. We've got some cabbage, Chinese cabbage, and then we've got our leafy spinach and broccoli, okay? I'll start indoors, 4 to 5 weeks. I'm sorry, 2 to 3 weeks before your last frost date. I'm probably gonna skip out on the spinach because I've actually still got some in the garden growing that we planted last season. And then the last bag is our direct sow. These are your rooty type, your pumpkins, your beans. You can start beans indoors, but things like radishes. We've got some other flowers in here too that I need to look through. And then we're gonna be introducing all of these direct sow after the last frost date into this bag. And then when it comes to March 25th or early April, when we get some increased soil temperatures, that's when we can go out into the garden and kind of plant these, space them apart and whatnot. So as far as the seeding process, let me just start diving into that real quick and how I do it. I've got two test trays also, okay? And I wanted to try that because this is all new to me. This is our first year starting seeds indoors. I've planted seeds last year and we had some pretty decent harvests, I would say, amongst our leafy greens. But we've always had trouble with getting plants from one of the local nurseries or Home Depot or Lowe's for that matter. And we get them, we plant them, and they die off, okay? And I think that has to do primarily with the fact that we plant them too soon and we just don't have increased soil temperatures yet. And so they kind of get, withered away with the cold temperatures around the last frost date time period. And then two, the hardening off, which is something I've never really done either. So we're gonna be trying that with our new seedlings that we grow this year before we actually put them into the garden. And then in addition to all that, the soil, so 2 test plots, okay? I've got a tray of soil that I use, that's Pro Mix, okay? 100% Pro Mix. It's the garden vegetable Pro Mix that you can get online. You can just Google Pro Mix and you'll be able to find it. I didn't add anything to it. It's pure Pro Mix, okay? This test tray is actually right here. The Miracle-Gro seed starting potting mix, okay? Now, when you go and you start buying this kind of stuff, it's really important to key in on the ingredients. And normally I would not buy this because I typically carry the ingredients in the shed for when we're building our raised beds. All this product is a little bit of NPK. Okay, when I say a little bit, 0.03%. So there's got a little bit of fertilizer in it. But outside of that, it's basically peat moss and perlite fertilizer and a little bit of a wetting agent, okay? But perlite and peat moss, that is it. So also you'll notice in these is the little white specks, okay? That's not the fertilizer. That is actually your perlite. Now what you can do instead of perlite, if you want, is you can add vermiculite. You just want to make sure that it's got good drainage, okay? That's the key. So I went ahead and filled this up last night and I gave it a good soaking. That way everything's nice and moist when we do our planting of seeds here. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and plant some of these seeds. I'm gonna start off with these newer ones, the peppers and tomatoes, because I should have done this as of last week, but I did not. Or I'm sorry, not last week, the middle of February around. Those were all done on the 16th of February. So when you're doing your seedlings, from what I read and what I understand about doing seedlings, which is a lot different from grass seed. And grass seed, I definitely know I can do. But you want to do at least 3 to 4 actual seeds, okay, in each little pod. And then, as you'll notice, what I'm going to do is I've already got all this, you know, pretty compacted. It's wetted down. I'm not going to make a little hole. I'm simply going to drop the seeds right on top. Once I drop those seedlings right on top, see if I can zoom in there. Once I drop those seedlings right on top, I'm simply going to take a little bit more of the peat moss and perlite mixture here at the Miracle-Gro seed starting potting mix, and I'm going to just add a little bit on top, and that's it. You see that? I'm not pressing it down into there. I'm just giving it a little bit of cover. And that's it. Okay, so that's pretty much more or less the third part of my little test trial here, is doing it this method. Back there, I did create a little hole, and I think it was the Sharpie I took, and I just pushed down a little bit and gave me that 1/8 to that 1/4 of an inch hole, and I put the seedling in there, and then I kind of just, you know, covered it up with some of the existing Pro Mix that we had over there. Once I have each one of those seedlings inside, we take our little water spray bottle here, and I give it a little mist, just to kind of get that seed wet. And that's it. I'm gonna do that for each one of these, and then we take our little labeling sticks, match it up, stake it, and we're good to go. And I kind of do that process as I do each seed, okay? I don't wait till the end to label. I label as we go. That way I don't get confused or remember which plant or which seedling I put in which pod. That's pretty much it. Oh, last thing I wanted to mention, the watering, okay? Don't take a water hose to these or one of the big jugs of watering pots, because you're gonna end up drowning your seedlings, okay? So we take the spray bottle. Inside the spray bottle though is what I wanna harp on, is the water that I use. I don't use the water from the faucet, and I don't use the water from the spigot out that's attached to the house, and I don't use pool water. All that stuff has chlorine in it, okay? So what we have, and what we've been doing for about a year now, is we got a big old beer tub bucket that we use for like the parties, for the drinks, but instead I keep it filled with water, and that just sits there. What happens though is that chlorine inside that water evaporates out of the water, so I'm applying a good healthy water that does not have any chlorine in it, just to kind of give it that extra, you know, gardening aspect of watering our plants. We started off that way. That's pretty much it, guys. So stay organized, make sure you label as you go. Don't bury your seeds deep in there, you know, unless it's one of the bigger seeds like a sunflower, but you wouldn't start sunflower seeds inside, but maybe a pumpkin seed, things like that that got bigger with, you typically bury a little bit deeper. But these little guys, just leave it on the surface, give it a little covering of whatever medium you're using to plant your seedlings, and then just make sure you water. Make sure it has 3 things. Definitely the seed to soil contact, H2O, and your sunlight, your grow light, whichever you're doing. Talk to you later. Bye.